hidden gems or just fragrances that I wore this week? Let's talk about it.
Here's some codes to save you some cash on your next Middle Eastern niche or designer fragrances.
What's going on, guys? My name is Neeb. Welcome back to AROMATIX. Today we're going to be diving into either hidden gems or just flops or just what I rocked this last week. A lot of times I rock fragrances that I don't get a chance to talk about, and this is a great way to find out hidden gems, etc., and just what I think about certain fragrances that either A, don't deserve a full review or will be coming to a full review near you. So let's go ahead and get started with the first fragrance that I decided to rock. This is a discontinued bad boy by Acqua di Gio, or by Armani, I should say. Giorgio Armani's Acqua di Gio Absolute. A great fragrance. It takes that original DNA, puts a little bit of sweetness to my nose, but it also adds a very distinctive salty accord coming from something like seaweed. I really like this scent profile. I like it more than the original, more than Profondo, etc., but I really don't like how it plays off of my skin. It comes off way too salty, and it just throws it off for me completely. So a fragrance I tried to enjoy for a long time, and I know that it's discontinued, and just for the fact that I know it's going to be discontinued and I enjoy it, I wanted to grab it, see if maybe over time it does something different, maybe I need to wear it in the right season, etc. But I also got it for another reason. There was another Middle Eastern Arabian oud fragrance that's niche and reminds me of the scent profile and DNA without the salty nature. It's coming very soon, you guys. It's called Atlas or Titania. We'll talk about it very soon. By Arabian oud. Lasts longer than this, doesn't do that salty crap that it does on my skin, and that's why I wanted to grab it to really do that, so I can tell you guys exactly what it smells like. So it costs about $135. The scent profile of this is something salty, etc., some seaweed, whatever. Occasions, I think this would be high heat. I think I need to try and take this one with me on the beach, and it'll potentially do a lot better than something like that. So at 135 bucks, I'm not too disappointed, but long story short, it's mid for me. Slightly above mid. I just wish it did better on my skin. I actually really enjoy it, but for that reason, it's a no-go from me. Next one up is called Oman Luxury's Belfiore. Belfiore is freaking beautiful. Something I experienced about this one the third time now, and it's completely a different scent profile. I remember thinking about it like this fresher style fragrance, and when I actually got it and wore it, completely different. One of the main notes of this fragrance is like apricot and osmanthus, and then there's like beeswax, some suede. Beautiful. It is extremely unisex. Initially, I had thought that this was like, oh, this is like their fresh fragrance, etc. I didn't really live with it, but as I rocked it, I noticed that it was powdery, it was fruity, it was relatively leathery at the same time, but very specifically this nubuck style of leather. So think of fresh pair of J's, that fuzzy texture. That's what I get reminded of. It's not necessarily very dense in that nature, and that's why I call it nubuck. It's a little bit less intense than something like suede, so I find it somewhere in between both leather and the hairy coarse leather of suede, which is still practically leather. So the main player of this is going to be the apricot, osmanthus, and the honey though. And there are also other white florals. The gardenia is extremely intense in this one as well. Apricot and osmanthus really do something that play together and play really well because of the fact that osmanthus kind of smells like apricot too. It'll give you that leathery, fuzzy-like texture with a fruity nuance and slightly earthy as well. Very similar to the apricot. So it's kind of a fragrance that does this passing on with transitions, etc. But also this gardenia has this very fat and thick texture like white floral nuance. I would say it's something that's similar to jasmine, but a lot more intense and a lot more pungent. The carrot also does help with that fatty nature and the rooty nature of the osmanthus and the gardenia. Very beautifully composed, long story short. And there's a slight honeyed sweetness to the base of this that doesn't go too sweet, making it one that I got away with rocking in the summertime. So this is a not so summer fragrance that works perfectly fine. It does wear slightly thicker than some of the other fragrances that you might think about, but it's perfectly unisex and works perfectly fine during the summertime. Even got me some compliments. Fuzzy-like, fruity, powdery, but also honeyed and white florals. Beautiful fragrance from Oman Luxury. Occasions for something like this, I would personally reserve this for somewhere where you want to be noticed. You want to smell like money. Yeah, it's not going to be too hot because then it might be slightly cloying if it's too hot. But if you want to smell like just money and opulence, sophisticated floral style fragrance, this is a great one to go with. The price tag of this, I think it's around 160 bucks on Max Aroma. You can use code AROMATIX or AROMATIX20 and save you some cash. Next one up that I decided to rock this week is this bad boy right here in preparation for the Clone War for Immortal or Immensité is Immortal and Immortelle by Maison Alhambra. These are two fragrances that are supposed to be the same, but one got changed or reformulated. And what I discovered is that the newest batches perform better than the old batches, believe it or not, by about like an hour tops. Still gets pretty close, but it just in totality doesn't have the refinement, obviously, like with the original, and it doesn't last as long as the original. Clone Wars is a series I do here on this channel for just having fun, man. Talking about fragrances that smell close, that do inspirations, etc. for those who can't afford to get the original, or for those who want beater fragrances. There's many other justifiable reasons, etc. for why somebody would want 100 mLs for 35 bucks instead of buying a 10 ml for 35 bucks. But still, even these are like $65. So that might not be the case with this one, at least. The next one I decided to rock is called L'Impressions Parfum by Flavia. This is probably the most detached one of them all. It's the harshest of them all. It smells a little bit lowest quality from them all, and it just seems like it's a bit more aromatic. The musky nature seems lower quality. Longevity was mid, so that's pretty much all I have to say about that. More details is coming or is already in that full Clone War. The next one I decided to rock is actually my favorite one and the strongest one. It's called The Immensity by Milestone. I bought this one, I believe, off of some Oriental fragrance website. I'm not sure exactly where it is. Check the description for the best prices, but it lasted the longest. It was a little bit more aromatic than the original itself and just gave me a different experience. I loved it. And I generally speaking like twists more so than just straight up inspos. I mean, I have no problem, you know, getting the original, etc. But and I like finding something that gets close to help the masses or help people who don't really have it like that, or they just don't want to spend it like that. But for the most part, enjoyment factor, obviously it's going to go to something that's a little bit more off of the DNA, especially if I already have the original DNA. In that sense, it's like, why would I want two of one? I would want something that twists it a little bit, and that's exactly what this is. This is the Immensity. It's amazing. It's one that I enjoy. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to enjoy this one more than the original if you don't have the original, but rather if you have the same vibe or the same situation where you maybe just want to save some of this, then maybe consider grabbing that one. Next one I rocked was Jacques Yves Lymphanite. This was the hardest one to find, but absolutely the closest one. One of the biggest reasons that it was the closest one is because it creates the watery accord, this melon nuance that I get from the original that I don't get with many of these other ones. But they're all actually pretty close. And when it comes to Maison Alhambra and Lymphanite, these are like neck and neck, man. I would say this is like 3% more close, and it's just this one seems a bit more watered down. But still, both of these lasted about 6.5 hours, and the older batch of Immortal lasted less, a little bit less than that. So this one took the cake for sure, and it's no surprise because this is a Fragrance World product. This is not Lattafa, it's their sub-brand, so it's going to be lesser quality. If Lattafa made one, then it would be comparing Fragrance World to Lattafa, would make sense, but this would be like what would make more sense as well is Utur al-Alam, which is Fragrance World sub-brand compared to Maison Alhambra, but it's not, and so Fragrance World is definitely better quality than all of those. Longevity still not the best, but yeah, it's still a really good one. All of these inspos costed anywhere from $65 and below. Some of the highest and most expensive one was actually Jean Lo Immortal for probably just pure hype. It's not a bad fragrance and it does really good, and it's more than enough at 45 bucks. It's great. These are niche quality stuff, man. But the scent profile in itself is not really that niche. It's old school, it's modernized. This is the original, and this is the one that I did rock as well this week. It's old school fragrance style, modernized with the best quality. It takes that original DNA and a lot of other musky blue style fragrances once upon a time with some ginger ambroxan, some zinginess, but it refines all those edges. It doesn't leave those aromatics to be harsh and really attention grabbing and barbershoppy. It refines it out really nicely, adds that watery cologne note or the watery note, and it really does master it and does it at the best quality. Although amazing of a fragrance, very signature scent worthy, I still think that this is like an 8.75 out of 10 in terms of like wow factor, right? Enjoyment factor. It's high, still high, because it's a really good execution, but very familiar. And although very familiar, still really good. The rest of these had all their different scores. Check out that Clone War or the Inspiration War, whatever you want to call it, for more details in regards to this. So this is pretty much all I wore this week. It did get boring. It got very boring, actually. I haven't worn a single scent for more than 2 days since I started this channel, because I tried to keep it as objective, although, you know, it's hard to do that because a lot of this is subjective, but I try and disconnect, and I really just wear fragrance to experience it. I jot down notes, and I wear fragrance almost every single day. I do actually. I wear a different fragrance every single day. So it's hard to answer questions like, what's your signature scent? I really don't have one anymore. I just wear one every single day, and that's the way that I'm able to bring a lot of high quality reviews, and oftentimes one wear is not enough. This is a fragrance that I had to wear throughout the span of 4 days, these two right here. It took about 4 days to review these. I don't take opinion or impression as good enough. I will do full final or first impression videos, but I'll tell you guys that this is first impressions. Take it with a grain of salt. It generally changes. And even sometimes months after you wear fragrance, you'll wear it again and it's changed. Keeping all of that in mind, if you appreciate content like this, and if you want to find out a lot more fragrances, originals, niche, designer, Middle Eastern, not just fragrance. We're out here trying to smell good. You want the luxury, you want the cheapies, the niches, whatever it is that you want, we do them all. Freaking love it while doing it. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Please make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button. That's the best and easiest and freest way to support this channel. And until the next one, peace.